Hi, I'm Kara Stevens, and you are watching the CCP informational video about the CCP program. If you missed the meeting in person, you are watching this video to get all of that information for your student if they want to take CCP classes next school year. So we'll get started. We'll go over a lot of information, but be patient, watch the video in its entirety, and we will get through this. So we'll get started. The first thing is, what is College Credit Plus? College Credit Plus is Ohio's dual credit program. Students can earn both high school and college credit at the same time, and they're enrolled in college courses while still in high school, and they have to adhere to those policies of those colleges that they apply to. Students must be in grades 7 through 12 to participate. They must be an Ohio resident and attend an Ohio secondary school, which if you're a student at FCA, you do. Then you can apply to any Ohio public or private college or university. Students are able to attend and apply to multiple colleges. So you don't have to take CCP courses just through one college. They can do multiple. So that's one thing to keep in mind as you're learning and exploring CCP for your student. Students who are in grades 7 through 12, they must complete an assessment exam to be deemed eligible for College Credit Plus. There are some additional options that are coming spring of 2022 for eligibility, but we don't have those quite yet. Students can choose from a variety of college courses. That is determined by placement testing and course eligibility rules. And students can earn credit to satisfy both high school and college requirements. A 3 credit hour course equals 1 high school credit. Students must successfully complete the course in order to earn the credit. So even if a student fails or withdraws from the course, that is still going to be put on both their college and their high school transcript. And so that grade will match in both places, and it will affect both GPAs. Students are able to take classes during the summer, fall, and spring semesters. Students also have the option to take these courses at the high school, the college campus, or also online. And I'll talk a little bit about it later, but OCU is our partnership school here at FCA. So we have a partnership with them to where CCP classes are held here at FCA. Colleges and universities will review the students' grades and test scores to determine if they are eligible for CCP. So the first step is college admission. Students must apply for admission at the colleges and universities. They have to meet those college that they're applying to, their admission requirements, and each college is different. Once they have applied, the college will do what is now called a permission slip. That'll be provided to the student at the time of application, and that shows the college that the parents are giving the student permission to take these classes. Next, you want to make sure you're contacting the colleges to learn all about their requirements, their paperwork that's due, and the deadlines. The college does have the final decision for admission for the students. Once they are admitted to the college will then send a questionnaire to the student that will be completed for their enrollment. Step 2 is course registration. So if a student is considered eligible and accepted to the college, then we will start to discuss course options. The college is able to discuss that with the student, but also here at FCA, we try to meet with them as well. As I've mentioned, CCP courses can count for college and high school credit. So these courses can satisfy high school graduation requirements. We're able to help students understand what that means. For example, 10th graders. They are required to take U.S. history as a high school course during their sophomore year. One option that we have is a U.S. History 2 CCP course that can satisfy that high school graduation requirement. So students must first complete their first 15 credit hours in level 1 courses. So we've listed out what those look like as far as a level 1 course, and all colleges are required to list out their level 1 courses on their website. So you can check those out at the different colleges that your student is interested in taking classes at. Once a student has completed the first 15 credits in those level 1 courses, they're able to move forward to level 2 courses then at that point. There are some courses that are not allowed to be taken through CCP. We've listed out some of them here, but one of the most ones that we've talked about that are not able to be taken through CCP is religious courses as well. Some other requirements for CCP, grades. So college credit plus grades that are earned in the college course is the same grade that will be on the high school transcript. So those course grades will be factored into the high school and college GPA. Grade weighting is another subject. So if a high school uses a weighted grading scale for their AP or honors courses, then their CCP courses is usually weighted as well. So what that means is all of our high school level courses are on an FCA standard scale. So an A is a 4.0 and an A minus is a 3.7 GPA. With grade weighting on the grading scale, a CCP course, if you get an A minus in a CCP course, that's still a 4.0 GPA. So that's where that grading scale is used for CCP courses. Some other requirements, students should consider what courses in a potential career pathway that they might be interested in. A lot of times what we tell students is think of what you might want to do going to college once you're a freshman, what major, and look at their course programs and see what classes that you'd be required to take for general education courses and see what you can do through CCP that will suffice for that. And so you get those done earlier while you're in high school instead of in college. As far as graduation requirements, we've talked a little bit about that already. Students can take college credit plus courses in subject areas that will satisfy graduation requirements. So for example, from before, the U.S. history course. That can be taken in place of just the high school only U.S. history course. Just make sure students are working with the school counselors to make sure that we're meeting all the graduation requirements in any type of state testing. Question, how many students can, or how many classes can students take? The private schools, we must have our students apply for funding each and every year. There's a set amount of money that the state allocates to private school students to use towards these classes. So these classes are paid for by the state. But families must apply for funding each year. So kind of we'll go over it in more detail later on, but this is the first step, and we kind of outline that for the funding application. So you establish an Ohio ID and you request access to the funding application. The families must complete that entire CCP funding application by the deadline that's set by the state. About 5 weeks after that deadline, the funds will be awarded to the families and you will get to see the amount of credit hours the student is awarded, and that is how many credit hours they can enroll in and get those classes paid for by the state. Funds are limited, and so a lot of times our students do not receive all of the credit hours that they requested. It is distributed based on the student's grade level. So they start with 12th grade and they go to 11th grade and so on and so forth. Please make sure when you are applying for funding, you're applying for the 22-23 school year. So you want to input your student's grade that they're going to be in next year. We've had situations where families have put in their current grade and their student didn't get all the credit hours that they had requested that they would have if they put their actual grade they were going to be in the next school year. So make sure attention to detail is key. Students will also provide a copy of that funding application letter to the college and to the high school. When a student uses state funding, it's called Option B. Option B is the default for CCP classes, And in that, students do earn both high school and college credit. Students, they must be awarded enough credit hours for the entire college course. If they were not awarded enough, the credit hours cannot be split. So what that means is a student may have received 4 credit hours paid for by the state. If they want to take 6 credit hours total in classes, they can only use their funding towards 1 class. They can't use that 4th credit hour, that 1 extra credit hour, towards their 2nd class. So they have to pay for that 2nd class in full. So those credit hours cannot be split. In the case that you do have to self-pay for a class, that is called Option A. Option A allows a student to earn both college and high school credit, but they have the choice to also just use that towards college credit only and not get high school credit. If a student wants to use Option A, it has to be elected at the time the student registers for the course, and they must inform both the college and the secondary school that that's the option that they are doing. So how do you apply for funding? First step is the parent and guardian must create the Ohio ID. It needs to be in the parent or guardian's name, not the student's. This step can be completed at any time, and you have to allow a few days for the Ohio ID to be assigned. But if you have a student who has already taken CCP, you are able to use the same one you used in the previous years. Step 2 is that the parent or guardian will use that Ohio ID to log into what's called the SAFE account or the SAFE portal. And the parent or guardian will follow the steps that are in the instruction manual. Both the funding application portal and the instruction manual will be available in February, and I will send that out in emails, lots and lots of emails with reminders on how to do that. So when the parent and guardian has access to the funding application, one of the first sections to complete is called the intent to participate. That just shows that you agree to all of the rules and regulations of CCP and that your student does understand all of that. You want to make sure that you're reading that information and you click the appropriate field to confirm that and electronically sign the intent to participate. As I've said, private schools, when you apply for funding, you have to upload the college acceptance letter. So if you've applied to multiple colleges and universities, you will need each one of those to upload into the system. You want to make sure that you are applying by April 1st. You'll hear me say it over and over again in this presentation, April 1st. That is the deadline to apply for funding. They do not have extensions, so please make sure that if you want your student to have these courses paid for by the state, that is completed by April 1st. Once all the sections of the funding application are complete and you've uploaded the documents and you've clicked on how many credit hours that your student is requesting, you will submit that application. Again, April 1st. The deadline to apply is April 1st. You'll receive an email confirmation that you did submit that, and there are no exceptions to this deadline. If parents have any difficulties with the funding application, here is the email address that you can contact. Please keep in mind there are a lot of families who are applying throughout the state of Ohio, and you want to apply as early as possible. Do not wait to the last minute. We have had instances in the past where families have waited till the last day to submit their funding application and the whole website crashed. So please make sure you are doing that early. And April 1st, that is the deadline. So about 5 weeks after the deadline, the credit hour funds will be awarded to the families with the completed applications. The number of credit hours the student is awarded is the maximum number of credits that a student can enroll in and use state funds. Families will be instructed to log into the ID portal, download the CCP letter that shows how much funding you received, and provide that letter to the college and the high school. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between high school and college. So as you're making this decision for your student, is this the right path for my student to take CCP classes and start their college transcript? We're going to see some differences. So the first area is tests. In high school, tests are given sometimes weekly or at the end of the chapter. In college, tests are fewer in number and they cover a lot more material. In regards to study time, in high school, required homework can range between 1 to 3 hours a day. Meanwhile, for college, it can be up to 2 to 3 hours of homework per every hour spent in class. And per week, students are spending approximately 3 hours in the class. So you got to do some math and multiply that by 3. So that is a big time commitment for these students. Next is knowledge acquisition. So in high school, information is provided mostly in class, and any out-of-class research is minimal. While in college, coursework requires more independent thinking and writing assignments, out-of-class research, group projects. So just make sure your child is ready for that. In grades, high school, there's numerous quizzes, tests, and homework assignments. In college, there are fewer tests and fewer, if any, homework assignments that can be used to determine final grades. I can remember a course I was in college. I had 3 tests, and that was my grade. So each and every test and assignment is very important. The role of parents, there is a difference in high school versus college. In high school, parents are very strong advocates and work closely with the school and teachers and the counselors here. But in college, the parent is more of a mentor, and they support the student, but the student is considered an independent decision maker. So we are communicating with the student about their grades. We are communicating with them about just different aspects of the course. If we are able to talk to the parents, the student has to have what's called the FERPA form on file, and that does allow us to talk to the parent about any particular academic issues or financial issues with the course. If we do not have that FERPA form on file, we would not be able to speak with a parent and could only speak to the student. So that's an important piece that we do stress. If you have your student take CCP classes, that's a very important form to have filled out and be on file. Any accommodation. So if your student has an IEP or a 504 plan, here at the high school, we work very closely with those students, and we do those accommodations and modifications to their coursework. In college, they have to work directly with the college staff to determine if any of those accommodations are needed. So students who have an IEP or a 504 can take CCP classes, but they just have to work with the college and see what the college is willing to do based on those plans. There are many benefits of taking CCP courses. As we've said, students can earn high school and college credits at the same time. At that point, you're getting a head start on career planning and your degree path, and you get to experience what college level coursework is like early before you get started as a freshman. And you're definitely saving on tuition and textbook costs. But there are consequences to underperforming. So if your student is not ready to take these CCP courses, for example, if they do not earn a passing grade or they withdraw too late from a college course, the district could require the student or the family to reimburse the tuition that had been paid. Beyond that, the grades that they earn in that course will go on both their high school and their college transcript permanently. So if a student fails or withdraws often from CCP courses, future financial aid could be affected when they graduate and they go off to college. But if they perform poorly, they can be placed on what's called CCP probation or CCP dismissal. And that is based on the college. They each have their own guidelines. So CCP probation, they are placed on that if they earn less than a cumulative 2.0 GPA throughout their CCP courses, or if they withdraw from 2 or more courses in one academic term. While they are on CCP probation, the student may only enroll in one CCP course for one college term or semester, and they may not enroll in a CCP course that's in the same subject that they had just earned that failing grade in. And CCP dismissal. If a student on CCP probation does not increase that GPA to a 2.0 or above during that probationary term, they are then placed on CCP dismissal. So while they're on CCP dismissal, students may not enroll in any CCP courses. Students can request an appeal, though, to be reinstated into the program. And again, that's based on the college and what they have. Some of the expenses for CCP. I'll touch briefly on this because if you're applying for state funding, that's pretty much paid for. But usually at any public colleges or universities, there's no cost to the students or family. And private school families must apply for state funding by April 1st. And any course that exceeds the state funding that the student is awarded is the financial responsibility of the family. At private colleges or universities, there will be no cost to the student and families for the tuition and the book fees. Definitely check with each and every college that you might be interested in your student taking CCP courses. From my experience, there have not been any of these smaller fees that a college, private college or university may have. But just make sure you're checking and you get the full picture for the colleges that your student wants to take CCP courses in. Students must complete the application process to get funding by April 1st. And they must confirm with the college and the secondary school if they're going to be using option B or option A for their CCP courses. Students can choose option A, so they will self-pay for those college courses, and they get to choose whether they receive high school and college credit or just college credit for those classes. And you must inform us and the college of that decision at the time of registration. Students can choose option B. All of that is paid for by the state, and they earn both college and high school credit, and you must make sure that you provide a copy of that funding award letter to both the high school and the college. As I've said, inform the college and the secondary school of which option A or option B. And the final date to change that election is on or before the college's withdrawal date, where there's no penalty. There are support services for CCP students. High school counselors, we are a great resource to help you figure out, what classes are best, maybe what college you're going to, and what's going to be the best courses for you to take so that you don't have to take them once you go to college. But there's also college advisors that can help with that. And the colleges also provide the same academic supports to CCP students, things like access to their library, any tutoring, and any advising or counseling as well. Also, make sure that students, if you are an athlete and looking at taking CCP courses, that you learn all of the Ohio High School Athletic Association's requirements, and know that summer term CCP courses are not able to be used to bring a student into compliance with the OHSAA requirements for athletic participation. A big question that I get asked a lot is, will these courses transfer? So there are certain general education and technical courses that will transfer, especially from Ohio public colleges to another Ohio public college. But you always need to check with the universities and to confirm that transferability. If there have been any issues with that in the past, what we do is we have the student get the syllabus from that class and turn it into their college. And what they'll do is they'll review that transcript and they'll review the syllabus to see if the content's the same as their class that they offer. And usually what happens is they realize it's the same course, the same content is covered, and so then they transfer that in directly for that course. There are also resources online for students to look at as well. So what are the deadlines? April 1st, 2022. I've said that probably at least 10 times through this presentation. That's when the private schools must complete the intent to participate and the funding application. Make sure you are also checking the ACT and SAT dates. If you are a student who is wanting to take either an English class or a math class, most likely you will have to have a qualifying score on either the ACT, the SAT, or potentially the AccuPlacer as well. And if your student is interested in taking any type of summer course, please make sure you're checking those deadlines as well, because most of the time summer CCP courses start in May. So please make sure you're looking at all of those deadlines. I want to talk a little bit about what does college ready truly mean. Being college ready is so much more than just being academically ready to take college classes. You need to consider the emotional and social transitions and what the college expects. We have all of the CCP course syllabi on our website. I highly suggest going on there and looking through those to see what the demands are of the course. You need to consider time management and your students' organizational skills. Because it's so important, because these grades that are earned in the CCP course are for high school and college credit, and it is calculated into their GPA. We have a lot of students who either forget this or don't realize this, and they may receive a B in their CCP course and not realize that that's putting a B on their high school transcript and affecting their high school GPA as well. So just make sure that you are keeping all of that in mind as you are preparing and deciding if your student is deemed college ready. I share this quote every year because it kind of depicts exactly what we're trying to say on is your student college ready. So it's from former Ohio Department of Education Chancellor John Kerry. He said, "It's critical that participants are college ready. As the few times there has been a problem thus far, it has not been because students were not academically ready, but because they were not mature enough to handle it." And so just make sure that you are seeing the bigger picture. You know, we have courses such as sociology or psychology that has a lot of mature content in it that your student may not be ready to hear or handle or listen to and learn about. And so you have to make sure that you're looking at that aspect as well. Is my student mature enough to take these classes? I like to give statistics each year on CCP at FCA. You know, don't always buy into the everybody's doing it type of, scenario, because the statistics show you that not everybody's doing it. If you look at our grades 7 through 12, 31% of those students are taking CCP classes. And we've broken it down even to the point of grade level. We have 0 kids in the grades 7 through 9 taking CCP. And in 10th grade, we have 38% of the class. 11th grade is 55% of the class. And in 12th grade, 74% of them are taking CCP. So we do highly recommend CCP for students in grades 10 through 12, just because they've learned what a high school level course is like in their freshman year. And then they know at that point, okay, this is what a high school level course is like. The college course is going to be on another level. So if I know what to expect at a high school, I now know that I'm going to take a step above that. So just make sure you're looking at all that. Not everybody's doing it, but we do see the most success in our 10th through 12th grade students. So if you've heard this presentation, you decide, yes, my kid is ready to take these CCP classes. The next step, how do you get started? So apply for admission at the colleges of choice. Okay, make sure you're meeting those deadlines. You want to contact those colleges and discuss any of the assessment testing or any other requirements. You want to make sure you're applying for the funding, start that process early so that that's submitted by the deadline, and make sure you're meeting with your school counselor to discuss scheduling and any other graduation requirements. If there's any questions, you can visit the CCP website for additional resources. The Ohio Department of Education's website has information. Our FCA website has information, and then also the Ohio Higher Ed has information as well. So I want to talk a little bit about what CCP looks like at FCA. I will be sending out a bunch of documents as well that are part of this process, but one of the main documents is the CCP checklist. It keeps you organized, so make sure you keep that. It keeps you on track. And just go through that checklist and make sure you're completing all of the information on there so that you're keeping with the deadlines. So just an overview of that checklist, you attend the information session. So you watching this video, that is your information session. You review the syllabi for the classes that are on our website so you know the demands of the course. You submit what's called the counseling session form. It just states that we've gone through this whole process. You know the risks and the benefits and the costs and everything like that, so you sign off on that. You submit the FCA permission to participate. That just shows me that your student is interested, and I need to continue to include them on any email documentation on what the next steps are. You want to make sure that you are applying to the colleges, requesting your child's transcript be sent to those colleges, and you want to create the Ohio ID, which includes the intent to participate in applying for funding. You'll then be awarded the funding, and you'll get a notification of that in mid-May. And then the final step, usually right before school lets out in May, is we get in contact with you again for the finalizing your student's schedule for next year and registering for the CCP classes. We do have a partnership, as I've said, with Ohio Christian University. We like to integrate that biblical worldview that they have in their courses into ours. And so these are the potential courses that we can offer at FCA through OCU. There's some that don't get as much interest, so we're not able to offer them every year. But we do offer sociology and psychology every year. The Western Civ we didn't offer this year because there wasn't enough interest. But English Comp is a great class as well. Oral Communications, we like to have our seniors take that because they integrate their senior project presentation within that class as well. The U.S. History course, that is the course that we recommend for our 10th grade students. But there's also statistics, calculus, and then a Holocaust course that's also based on interest as well. With our partnership with OCU, if your student does not receive enough funding, we are able to self-pay for those courses at a discounted rate. So if the college course is taught by an FCA teacher who is qualified to teach that course, it is $200 total for the class. If the college course is taught at FCA by an OCU professor who comes in, the total for the class is $300. And any OCU online courses are $166 per credit hour. So some final reminders, the deadline to apply to OCU for their CCP program is March 18th. The deadline to apply for funding is April 1st. And we also work closely with Ohio University Lancaster, and we've had students take CCP courses there as well. Their deadline to apply is May 1st. Make sure, I cannot stress enough how important checking your email is. That is the main line of communication for these colleges as well as for us. And so make sure you're checking that because acceptance letters will come through email, reminders will come through email. So that is a final reminder, check your email. Make sure you're applying by the deadlines. Follow the CCP checklist. And you can always email or call for any questions that you have. I have my email and my extension, but also Mrs. Knekel in the guidance office, you can email or call her as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ohio Christian University and their program since we have that partnership with them. Their program is called Trailblazer Academy. In order to apply and to be accepted, you have to have a 3.0 GPA. If a student has below that 3.0 GPA, they then have to have a qualifying test score, either on the ACT, the SAT, or the AccuPlacer. The application process, if they are a new CCP student, you will complete the online application. If you are a student who has already taken CCP in the past, you will do what's called a return student short form. You will have your high school transcript submitted, so that's where that FCA transcript request form comes in, and you turn that into the guidance office so that I can send your transcripts over to the colleges. And then any ACT or AccuPlacer test scores will be included on the transcript as well. They have an advising and registration process that we will go through once the student is accepted and they've received notification of how many credit hours the student was awarded. And so I will walk through these, the video and the forms with each student when it comes time for advising and registration. Any OCU and CCP important deadlines. So if your student wants to take CCP courses through Ohio Christian University, all application materials need to be submitted by March 18th. That's to ensure that they can get the acceptance letter back to the families in order to apply for funding by the deadline of April 1st. If there's any questions as far as OCU, they can contact Elizabeth Conley. She is the assistant director of the program. And then the advisor for OCU is Delaney Ray, and she can be contacted as well. We do have students take CCP courses through other schools as well. We've had students take classes through Columbus State, Ohio University Lancaster, COTC, Ohio State, Hocking College. We've had a lot of different areas. So you're not limited to just OCU. It's very convenient with OCU because they are here on our campus and they come to us, and it's a period throughout your child's day. But there are other options that students can take online classes. If there are any other questions, as I stated, you can contact myself, you can contact Mrs. Knekel, or there's a lot of resources on our website as well as the Department of Education's website. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions at any point, please get in contact with us. But thank you so much for watching the CCP presentation.